They gave me this script and I'm reading the lines that they gave me. And I said, so who do you hear him sounding like? And they said, Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood is always down here. So very quiet. Go ahead, punk. Saber-toothed the tiger, obviously, and I'm a Wolverine. I said, no, they're mutants. And I went, what the hell's a mutant? Like, for God's sakes, what do you mean? It was so sad when it ended after 5 years. The fans went crazy when it was canceled. It was like my brother cutting off my right arm. I was like, what, I don't get to see him anymore? And when I saw him in the new animation, I almost crapped my pants. I just said, holy crap, you look great, bub.
All right, you egg-sucking piece of gutter trash. You always liked pushing around people smaller than you. Well, I'm smaller. Try pushing me!
Since their comics debut, the X-Men has grown to incorporate some of the most cultural defining characters in fictional history. Though one, despite his height, has grown to become the biggest. That's right, Wolverine. And it all started in the 90s thanks to the performance of one man. Welcome to Jam More Interviews, and my guest today brought the heart and soul to the role of Wolverine in the beloved X-Men 90s series. He now returns 20 years later to don the claws once more in the Emmy-nominated X-Men 97 series. In addition to the bad bub, you know him as Slappy in the Goosebumps TV series, Bob Wire and King, Whip Rockefeller in Rescue Heroes, Cement and Mixer Mike in The Adventures of Chuck and Friends, and Captain America in various Marvel vs. Capcom side-scrollers. His knack for brilliant performing and singing since he was young has led him to be the childhood icon we all know and love today. He's the best he is at what he does. Help me welcome one-of-a-kind talent, Cal Dodd! Yeah, there we go. Hold on. Why did I get kicked? Hold on. There we go. Yeah. Welcome, my friend. How are you today? Thank you so much. Oh, the claws. Love the claws. Thank you so much.
The clawed one. I'm great, Joshua. How are you, bud?
I'm good. I'm blessed and highly favored to be speaking to you today, man. There's actors, right? But then there are people like you who have really defined roles, defined cultural moments in people's memories. So to be able to speak to you today is not only an honor, but it's just, I can't put into words how happy I am to be speaking to you today. So thank you so much for joining me. It's an honor. Thank you.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. You seem like such a gentleman, and we waited a long time for this interview. And I'm happy that I did get back to you, and I'm just happier than a pig in, to be here with you.
Thank you so much, good sir.
Sorry for, kept putting off, but it's just crazy busy at Christmas, of course. And I got cameos up to my eyeballs, which I just finished one this afternoon, and I do that outside, and it's minus 11 Celsius here. And snow on the ground. It snowed last night and the night before for the first time this year, but cold, holy crap. So like as Wolverine, I went outside, and anytime I do a Wolverine thing, I like to be outside because he loved the Arctic. That's where he would go to be whenever he was angry with people or just not happy within himself. He would go up to the Arctic and hang out with the Inuit and stuff and people he loved. And he didn't have to be an X-Men or a mutant or anything. They didn't know he was a mutant. And it made him happy. So I just sort of feel that he himself, Wolverine, would be happy that I at least go out in the bitter cold, because you can't even see it. It's a cover, the big sort of glass greenhouse that's over the pool in the backyard.
Oh,
but it's made of glass, but so it is freezing in there. The water is frozen. It's not only, they empty it when they clean it out after the summer. But, but like I said, it's minus 11 Celsius, which is about 11 or 12 Fahrenheit.
Oh, wow.
Where are you, by the way, Joshua?
I'm in lovely Atlanta, Georgia right now. It is 43 degrees out here. So, it's not as bad as where you are, but it is still.
Did you say it's 33 degrees?
43.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But man, you have such a love and understanding for this character that I appreciate. I mean, man, you were talking about being busy, and dude, you and the cast have just been doing cons after cons, and you said cameos and such. Yeah, like I know you're such a busy guy. So my first question I'm going to ask you is like, what do you do for fun and to like detox from traveling so much and just interacting with the fans so much?
A lot of sleeping in my own bed, which is very cool because like you're always sleeping in a hotel. Every hotel room, every bed is different. They're too soft, but they're huge because they're always king size beds. And I got my wife there with me, and it takes me about 5 minutes to find her. She's on the way over there somewhere. And the pillows are not the pillows kind of pillows I like. Some of them are like the size of chiclets, and then, I don't know. They think that's a pillow. That's just crazy. And so I don't really sleep properly, and of course not. And I just love meeting the fans, and I'm so blessed, as you say. I'm so blessed to be able to do this, and all I have to thank is Wolverine, and the fact that he came into my life in 1992, and that I got the audition because I had no idea. When I went into the audition, we were all in Canada here. I'm in Toronto. And did I mention it's -3? We all went into all the voice actors for the initial series in 92 were all Canadian. They came from New York and LA to audition us. And most of us had done theater in one sense or another. And I had a TV show for 5 years. So I knew they wanted somebody more than a voice actor or something. But in either case, in any event, I had never, ever done any voice acting whatsoever. I was like, in Canada, I was the dude for like the solo singer for jingles, commercials, singing beers, bras, peanuts, cereals, whatever. And I would fly to Chicago occasionally and to New York to do like a spot. And I did the Toy Biz stuff when we started doing Wolverine. I did the voiceover for the dolls and stuff. Talk about being blessed. Like, this is, and we're in the prime of our lives, just like, what? I get to travel like this and I don't pay for this? It's like, what? And then I get there and I get to meet the most wonderful people on this planet. They are so in love with Wolverine, with whichever one of the X-Men they love and adore. They are just over the moon, and you can see it in their eyes. And I got to meet a whole people like that, and I have now a great affinity with autistic people and kids and adults whom I just adore, and I have wonderful stories about them. And some of them made me cry because they were just so heart-wrenching. And it's just beyond me that I get to see and meet all these people as Wolverine. And they just, as soon as you do the voice, they're just like, they either faint or they said, "Oh, thanks for my childhood, bub." And I love when they all try to do Wolverine. It's just it's hilarious. They say, "Okay, go ahead, do them." And they do it. And I say, "Okay, well, that's good. But it ain't right yet. Keep working on it." And I just love the fans, and so to relax. I have a great time while I'm doing them, but it's the flying and the canceled flights and delayed flights for like 8 hours, and after 8 hours delayed, they cancel the flight. Now you got to stay overnight, and we had at one point, Joshua, we had in 8 weeks we had 7 different Comic-Cons in 8 weeks. Wow. And one of them caught up to us because the flight got delayed in Austin. It got canceled. And the next day we were supposed to leave from Toronto to go to San Diego to meet the X-Men like the other cast members for the D23, that con. Nice. So we were in San Diego and we couldn't get out because the flight was canceled after 8 to 10 hours. And we found a hotel right at the airport, whatever. They gave us, they paid for the hotel for us because, the flight was canceled. And we woke up at 5:30, got to the airport at 5:30, flew to Toronto. Jeez. And we were in Toronto for exactly 2 weeks. The cab picked us up from the airport, drove us home. We did a laundry and put it back into our bags, went back to the airport, all within 2 hours, and flew off to San Diego. So when I got to San Diego, I didn't know what my name was or who the woman was that I was with. My wife said, "Who are you?" And we can laugh now, but it was just, holy crap. I was so tired and not knowing what time it is because there's a 3-hour time difference for us when you go to San Diego. Yeah. And I just said I wasn't going to do it, but I had an opportunity to go to the Middle East. Oh God, it's a huge city where the tallest building in the world is there.
Dubai?
Thank you, Dubai. And it was only for 2 days to go to a comic book shop. They actually flew to the New York Comic Con where I was from Dubai. These 2 guys and said, "We would like you to come to this comic book store for 2 days." Now the flight is 13 hours and the time difference is 7 or 8 hours, something like that. So to talk about being totally screwed up with oh my God, I just couldn't take it. I said, no, and for 2 days, if it was a week, I would do it. You know what I mean? Because I'd love to do that. But I just said, it's too hectic, because I would fly there at 13-hour flight, and they would pick me up and take me to the comic book store at whatever time of the day it was their time. And I'm like, oh God. So I said, I'm sorry, I can't. We'll talk about it some other time. And that was that. But like, you just finally, after 8 weeks, I said, that's enough. We stop doing these, and just breathe again. And I lost like 15 to 20 pounds just from not eating properly either. Because I was sitting in the con, and I wouldn't have lunch, and I would be there for 8 to 9 hours without breaking for something to eat. Well, it just caught up on me, because I hate seeing the fans line up too. I hate that when they're standing there. So I just don't take a time out or whatever. So I just don't eat until like, supper time or whatever. But I lost like 15 to 20 pounds.
Goodness.
Anyway, so that's how I relax. I come home and eat and sleep.
Well, that is a much deserved rest. I mean, seeing how much the fans love you and appreciate you, and all the gifts they probably give you, it's I love seeing that. It's a great feeling you must feel. But I want to get into the origin of how we all got here, to the wonderful origin of who you are as a person. I know you're born in Ireland, and then moved over to Canada. And that's a lot of culture right there. So I was curious, in your own opinion, how would you say that all the culture you've experienced in your life has helped made you a more well-rounded person and performer?
Well, number one, being born in Ireland was I consider that a blessing as well. Many people wouldn't, but there were five of us. Mom was from the north, Dad was from the south. So Dad was Dublin, Mom was just north of Belfast in Castlewellan. And Fiona, my sister, was the firstborn, and she was born in Belfast. I was born in Dublin. My brother Barry was born in Dublin. And then we flew to Canada. We escaped to Canada. And my other brothers, Rory and Sean, good Irish names. Sean, Rory. My real name is Cathal, Cathal. Fiona, Cathal, Barry, Rory, and Sean. And the whole family sang. Three of us came over. Then the two of them were born in Canada, the last two. And my little brother, smallest, youngest guy, Mom just was unfortunate enough to have German measles in his pregnancy. Stop. And I
was wondering what that was. Was that like a clown car outside your house or something? Or
no, it's my phone. It's my phone. It's like leaving a message that if you don't answer it, it keeps reminding you. Yeah. Okay. So, where was I? Oh yeah. So Sean was born blind and deaf. From birth, because of the German measles Mom had, and he was a surprise, and we couldn't really afford. The family had no money by any means, and it was so 5 children, 1 blind and deaf, and in order to feed all of us, it's just they had to come to the decision what are we going to do with poor Sean. We kept him till he was 8, and he could only eat baby food. We couldn't. We had to eat. We're growing kids, and he just could never see or hear anything. And he was just an angel that we had. And he was just a wonderful smile on his face. And he was never supposed to walk. And he got up when he was 2 and just walked into the toilet and put his head in the toilet because he loved water. It's kind of like dogs do that, Sean. But he couldn't hear me because he's deaf. So, God love him. And so, just long story short, there were problems in the family as well. Like Dad had a problem with drinks. And he died very early and left Mom with the 5 of us. And we had put Sean in a home by that point. It was very sad for all of us, and running to school in grade 8 because when I came home, I knew my little brother wasn't going to be there anymore. And it's like these kind of things I bring to Wolverine, like this, the heart and stuff. So all that heart, and I skipped we sang as a family all Irish songs. So on St. Patrick's Day, we would tour to different places. Which is magical because the music was we just took that for granted. And I didn't realize until I got to Toronto amongst there are other singers here. Yeah. But I still, in my head, I went like, not like me, you ain't. And I proved it. I said, yeah. And it took me it took me a year to break into the jingle clique, because it's a very small market and they keep it to themselves because the money's so good. You know, they do a commercial, a national spot, it's like, hello. And in the US, big time hello. If I got, like, say, for a year, 10 grand for a commercial, in the US, it's why they call Canada 10 percenters, I would have made 100 grand for the same commercial, same thing, because the markets are 10 times what they are in Canada. Right. Anyways, I did that and loved every minute of it when I got into the jingle business, and just kept at it. And I was now in love. I couldn't believe that I was singing and they were paying me. And it was just hilarious. And then I got a TV show and met all these professional circus acts, the Wallendas and all those people. The show was called Circus. What's his name? Leslie Nielsen did the pilot with us. Leslie Nielsen, you know, don't call me Shirley. He was such a wonderful guy. But after we sold the pilot, then he didn't stay with the show. So the two of us, there's myself and a girl, were the stars of the show, and we had 6 dancers, and we did major production songs and stuff. Like I got to do Michael McDonald and whoever I loved, like singing wise, and these dancers would be dancing around me and stuff. And 5 years of that, and it was a family entertainment. And everyone loved the show. It was like the top show in Canada, and it was syndicated worldwide. They actually got it in Ireland, and of course they changed my name because when I came to Canada, grade 1, and the kids, I came home from school the first day, and my name is Cathal, but you don't pronounce the T, and it's pronounced with an Irish accent. It's pronounced Cathal. So the kids, the poor kids, I think you read one, and even the teacher was cattle, and they started calling me cattle at recess and running behind me, and then they started mooing, moo, moo, cattle. What kind of a name is that? And I said, Mom, they're calling me a cattle, a bovine at school. And she said, oh, sorry, I'm so sorry. We'll change it. We went right the next day and changed my name to Cal, and that's where it stuck, and that's where it is today. And back to the music and theater, they wrote a rock opera called Coburg 1582 in the biggest theater company in Canada, which was in Prince Edward Island, the Charlottetown Festival, and the show was written for my voice with me in mind. So I played Hamlet, and I got my little brother Rory involved, who was next to Sean, was the youngest, and Rory, and Rory was like back at home in a population of 3,200, the town where we grew up, straight from Ireland, 3,000 people on Lake Erie. And fishermen and hockey and fighting was the rule, the usual. That's what you did in the winter: fighting, hockey, and drinking, like in bars, because there was nothing else to do. And in the summer, it was a great summer town, and there was a beautiful beach. And then it was like the beach, whatever your job was, or, because in high school those years, and drinking and fighting. So it was that. So Rory's still there. And I said, they were looking for someone to play Horatio in the show. And I said, well, we can't. I said, no, don't look anymore. My brother can do that. And Rory's like 4 years younger than I am. So, and Rory's in the beer store. And Mom said, where are you going? Cal's got me a job, to do. And he did. So he got the job with me. And the two of us did the radio. It was a radio production. And two of us did that. And then we went to Charlottetown, had to stay there for 2 years with the show. They discovered it in New York and took it to Broadway. And so Beverly D'Angelo, Rory, I went to Broadway, I went to New York, but to work on an album called Deja Vu. Our group was called Deja Vu, which is a group to replace Three Dog Night, because Three Dog Night had just broken up or whatever. And Capital EMI was making a lot of money off them. So they thought he'd replace them with 3 singers from Canada. And Skip Prokop from the band Lighthouse put it together, and Jimmy Einer was our producer. Anyway, I did that. Rory stayed with the show in Broadway, and they renamed it Rockabye Hamlet. And he met, when he was there, one of the other cast members was Meatloaf, who played a bishop in the show. That's not his real name, obviously. Meatloaf and Beverly D'Angelo went with Rory from Canada here. And right after the show, it closed opening night. After it closed, Beverly ended up doing a movie, Paternity, with Burt Reynolds, and Rory hooked up with Meatloaf and Jim Steinman, and they wrote the album Bat Out of Hell. And Rory was the backup singer for Meatloaf, all of the world tour on every album he did, and every song that Jim Steinman wrote, and he wrote many. He wrote everything that Meatloaf did. Rory would do the demos. He would sing the lead vocal so that Meatloaf could listen to them and learn the song.
Okay.
So, and for other artists. So Rory's in the studio one night, and Jim Steinman says they called Rory Ice because he was from Canada. Get it? We're cold up here. Ice. So he said, "Hey, Ice, can you do this song? It's just a background part of this thing. If you got some time?" And he said, he looked at Jim. He said, "Jim, it's 2:00 in the morning. This is in New York City. I got to get home." He said, "Well, it'll only take you 15 minutes. Come on, Ice." He said, "Okay." He said, "What's it for?" And he said, I'm doing a record with Bonnie Tyler. And it'll just take you 15 minutes. So Rory said, "Okay, fine." So he did it, and then he went home. And 9 months later, I went to visit my mom because the Grammys were on, and my brother and her son was on the Grammys with Bonnie Tyler singing. And it started with Rory way up 50 steps up like this, way back from the front of the stage, and way up on 50 steps. And Bonnie Tyler's down at the bottom looking out at the crowd. And it starts with him. Rory had the zoom camera way up on top, boom camera up on top, looking at him. Like, as he started, the song sounded like piano. It says, "Ding, ding, 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 ding. Turn around now and then," and then the camera would go down to her. "Turn around, right eyes." Yeah, and that's my little brother sing that with Bonnie Tyler. Totally clips to the heart. And he did Billy Joel's records, James Taylor, all the stuff on Uptown Girl with Billy Joel. Uptown Girl, all the background stuff. So he had quite a lovely career in New York, and he stayed there the rest of his life. And he's back now home, back near our town where we grew up. But he's done with the business. But so that the music was huge in our family, and so starting all that stuff, the theater input and all that thing, I brought to voice acting, which I had never ever done. When they asked me to audition for this role, I said, "Do I have to sing something?" They went, No. Tell us what it was for. They said, "No, it's for Project X. We can't tell you." But I said, "Oh, great." Okay, so we showed up at the thing, at the audition. They're from New York and LA, the writers and directors, producers and stuff. And we're in Toronto, and gave me this scripts to read and all these lines. And I'm saying, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what the X-Men were. I'd never heard of them. And none of us had. I don't know. It's like we live on another planet or something. I don't get it. I wasn't into comics. Because I'm working, singing constantly. And, it was just crazy. And that's another story altogether. I tend to get babbling. Have you noticed?
No, that I love all of. I think one of the things that really wanted to make me interview was all the stories and how long you've been working in the industry. So I don't mind. It's gonna be fun to edit this though. I love editing. So it's gonna. But
well, good luck with that. It was the gift of the gab from the Irish.
No, that's all good, my friend. Though, but yes, no, I love hearing how much you've had in your life that's helped make you such a phenomenal performer. I have my own story and things I've gone through. I used to be a tap dancer growing up, and I used to play in the band in high school and stuff like that. So, so much stuff I've done that's really helped me to get to where I am. And music is like my second love to me. I love music so much.
Oh, man.
What does music and song do for you personally that maybe acting doesn't really bring to you? Like, what does music and singing satisfy for you?
Oh, because it's been my life, and I mean my life. I remember coming over on the plane. I'm like, what, 2? Yeah. And singing, poor little Rob. Like, I was singing. Mom said the stewardesses were just hanging around you because you wouldn't stop singing this song. And I said, "What song, Mom?" She said, "Poor little Robin, walking to Missouri. He can't afford to fly." Poor little Robin. It's an old tune. Then you wouldn't shut up. You wouldn't stop singing it. I said, well, it's kind of like what I do when I'm in interviews. I never shut up. But it was so ingrained. My mom was the most unbelievable singer I'd ever heard in my life. And Dad was a singer. He led the singing in church, and Mom was the organist. And been singing at funerals and a Mountain Lion funerals and weddings from the age of 6, like in Latin, because I was taught how to sing professionally. So it was always there, like by my mom. But it was a gift from this voice is a gift. It's definitely a gift. And
100%.
The singing is it's our life. My entire family, all of us, it was like, it's such a strong bond, and the love of music is hard to beat. I mean, there's no other feeling than me singing a song well, and because in my head I'm hearing 4-part harmony, and like I so badly I've done it. I have done it myself, but I love. I said that I used to do it when I was doing commercials, because you dub it, and then you do the third, and then you do the fifth. And because I did all the highest voice stuff and the lowest voice stuff. I had 3.5, 4 octaves. So I was doing the guy down here, and okay, the highs, the falsetto stuff, but smooth transition into falsetto. And it's like, it's not work to me. It's just like, and I look at people, you can't do that, because and my God, love her, my wife. It's just what she starts singing, and it's like, what are you hearing when you sing? It's like, she's great in the choir. When she sings the choir, it's good, but like, it's just by herself. It's like, that in 2 lines you changed the key 3 times. Like, it's just, what do you hear? And it's just, I won't sing anymore. Oh no, I love it. It's just, so I don't tell her anymore. It's just like, oh my God. But I can't understand that, because it was
it's ingrained into who you are.
Our life. And that's the way, growing up in this small town, we were known as the Dodd family singers. And it was hard for me to break into, because I loved hockey when I played, and I eventually did. But, it was like, he can't play hockey. He's singing. He's like a sissy for singing. I said, yeah, I love this. This is, and the Wolverine, even that came out in me. It's like, what'd you call me? Sissy. You might want to find another word for that, because I'm, of course, I didn't do the voice because I didn't know it was going to be him. It was like, yeah, what do you mean with that? Yeah, anytime, pretty boy. It's just one of Wolverine's lines. And when I did that line, I was so happy to be able to do that and stuff. I would suggest some lines to them, like, the writers would have written a line for me, and I said, oh, no, that's too blatant. That's not blatant enough. It's just, more coy or whatever, like, because that when Wolverine said that to Cyclops, what's the matter, teacher's pet got cold feet? Said Cyclops turns around like he's gonna blast him with his eyes, and Wolverine walks a bit closer and says, anytime, pretty boy. Anytime, pretty boy. So that music, it just, my heart is like it. I just love it so much. It's hard to explain even, but there's nothing else in my life. It is number 1, period, music. And it breaks me, it gets me out of funks and depression. If I'd say to Donna, I need to sing. I need to go outside and sing 2 or 3 songs. And when COVID started, it's driving her nuts. But once COVID started, March of 2020, I started posting songs on Facebook with nice tracks and stuff. And I'm over 2,000 songs now posted on Facebook. And the followers are just all over the world, because it's now, they know I'm Wolverine. So and it's just been a blast, Joshua, because I love singing it. And I would post 3 a day, sometimes 2 a day. And they were also, it was making them smile, because it was very serious when COVID started. People were dying like crazy. And it was just keeping people smiling and keeping their hopes up and stuff. And when my mom, God love her, died of Alzheimer's, this touched my heart. This just showed me the power of music. And they have proven this, how strong it is with Alzheimer patients. If you play a certain song, they come back. They'll come back from where they, where they go. And Mom, we moved her out of the home to this home where there's someone could look after her. And I went to visit her, and she had those dead eyes. She's just sitting there with dead black eyes. That's all I can call them. There's no feeling or anything there. They've taken her soul. They've taken her brain away. And I just, I would look at her across, and I just started singing, because she taught me everything I know about music and spent hours with me. And so I just looked at her and I started singing, because she loved the song, as most Irish people do, but it's because she's my mom, and it was the song from a mother to the son. So I just started singing, "Oh, Daddy boy, the pipes are calling." And she said, without a word, without a hesitation, she, "From glen to glen." And she started singing right then with me, harmonizing with me. And she stood up and started walking towards me, because she didn't know who I was. And we stood face to face and sang in harmony. And it was just ridiculously sad and emotional. And I just hugged her after that. And then she just went back to wherever they go after I sat her down again. But it's the music is, because she was the source for me of all that. And it means it's my life, music.
Yo, I'm trying not to cry right now. That is so beautiful. That is so, I can't, oh man. I can feel the tears. Okay. Like I can feel it. Like,
yeah. And I brought that, Josh, that feeling to, and that's what I was talking about with the Alzheimer's, with the autistic people. And I'll just relate that story to you, because that's where I got the strength with this poor gentleman and his daughter. Not poor, because they were happy.
Right. I love this story. I can't wait.
He was all dressed in black, and he had claws, the 3 claws on, as I had mine on. And he came up to my table, and his daughter, she was about 10, I think. And he just started his speech, and I just sat there, and he said, "Mr. Dodd, I would like to thank you for my life and for making my childhood. And the reason I'm alive today is because of you and the X-Men. And this is my daughter, and she has autism as well. And I just have to tell you that I wouldn't be here today, nor would she, if it weren't for you and Wolverine, because I was going to take my own life, and I was going to jump. And the person that came around from, who I assume, I said to him, yes, it sounds like an angel. Yeah, came up and said, "You can't do that. You can't take your own. What are you doing? You can't do that. Wolverine wouldn't do that." And he just went, "What? Wolverine wouldn't do that. He would keep fighting." And then I love this, because he added an addendum. And what are you going to do this Saturday? You're going to miss the episode? If you take your, and the kid went, and I just came down. Because I couldn't believe it. It was like Wolverine that brought me. He wouldn't give up like this. And he said, "Thankfully, because now I have this beautiful, my daughter, and she's standing there with him. She's dressed in dark black as well, with little claws on." And he says, I just finished. He finished the story, he said, "So I just needed to thank you so much from my heart, for my life and the family and the life that I have." And I said, "You're so welcome." And I took my claw off, and I put my hand out to shake his hand, and he waited for a second. Then he took off the claw and shook my hand, and took it back and put the claw back on, and turned around, the two of them, and walked away from my table. And this woman comes over in tears, and she says, I can't believe what I just saw. That's my daughter and my husband, and he is part of his autism. He never, ever would touch another person's hand that he did not know. And because you were Wolverine and you offered your hand, he had to shake your hand. Said, this is life-changing for him." And I said, we fell into each other's arms, and I just hugged her. And I said, "Now go get those two." And it was just that. So that was very sort of the same thing with my mom and I, that same sort of emotion that was there. It was like, oh my God, this is just the power of this media and that animated series. It's nuts.
I completely agree. And I think that's the reason I'm so drawn to speaking to performers and just drawn to the arts in general, is to just see the power that so much of the work that you've done has really changed like thousands of people's lives. And you get to see that every time you go to a con or whenever a fan like me interviews you. Like, it's just so amazing to see what this art form and many different art forms can do to people, what a painting can do, or just a little minute jingle could change someone's mind. Like, how do you even qualify? Like, it's hard to explain, but when you see it in front of you, it's just like it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? It makes sense. And man, that's so beautiful. I think I'm good. I don't think I'm gonna cry now, but it's that's beautiful, man. And I'm glad that, I have an issue with a lot of Hollywood right now because it seems like voice actors such as yourself aren't as respected. And I am so glad that X-Men 97 brought you back as Wolverine. Like, I am so happy because I'm so glad all of you guys came back for that series, because you guys mean something to a whole generation of people. And as great as the writing is for X-Men 97, as phenomenal as the animation is, it would not have hit the same if it wasn't you guys. And I stand on that. I stand 100% on that. And
you're so right.
I'm just so happy. I'm happy, man. I'm happy that it's being received well. I'm so happy that the series, like I said in the beginning, is an Emmy-nominated series, man. you're getting so many awards for this series, and it's awesome. It just makes me so happy to see.
Yeah.
And the thing about your life that is so interesting to me is that you're such a talented singer, but you're also such a talented performer. So your journey in life could have went either way. So my next question to you is, did you ever envision yourself being such a big voice actor as you are now, or was that just by happenstance?
Oh my God, not on your life did I think this was going anywhere. It was right out of left field. Like I said, do I have to sing something? No. And like I say, that's like the way the audition went. When I showed up for this thing, I said, so what am I doing? And they said, you're auditioning for Wolverine. I said, okay, what's Wolverine? And they said, oh dear. One of these. And they showed me a picture, and I said, okay. And they said he's 5'3", tough as nails. He would die for his friends if need be. He would fight anyone on the planet and give his life if it had to be to save some of his friends and the people that he loves. And they said at the end of it, and he's cranky. And I said, he's cranky. They said, yeah. I said, oh my God, I love him already. Because my wife says that all the time. And so they gave me this script, and I'm reading the lines that they gave me. And I said, so who do you hear him sounding like? And they said, almost all of them just said, Clint Eastwood. They went, oh, great. Clint Eastwood. But Clint Eastwood is always down here. So very quiet. And go ahead, punk. That's it. I said, this line that I'm looking at, I could never hear Clint Eastwood doing this because he would have to be yelling. And I've never heard Clint Eastwood scream or yell in a movie. It's all clenched teeth and very kept within himself. And they said, okay. Well, I said, so who is he yelling at? And they said, because I don't know anything about the X-Men. And they said, this line is he's yelling at Sabretooth. And I said, Sabretooth? And I'm Wolverine. Is this an animal cartoon? And they just went, what? I said, yes, is this an animal cartoon? No. And then after they stopped laughing, they said, well, what? Sabretooth's a tiger, obviously, and I'm a Wolverine. I said, no, they're mutants. And I went, what the hell's a mutant? Like, for God's sakes, what do you mean? So they explained all that stuff, and now, they're just rolling their eyes. And the very first line, so I said, okay. They said, so you're ready to read? And I said, well, I guess, because I looked at this line, and I didn't know that the scene was Sabretooth he's yelling at, and the scenario is Sabretooth is laid up in the mansion in a hospital bed, and, all kinds of stuff plugged in him, and he'd die, or they think it. And Wolverine at one point is beside him. The professor says, "Don't touch him. You could kill him." And Wolverine just said, "Good, good. No, he'll die. Good." And he walked away. And he's over to where Jubilee was. And then Jubilee, shakes her head at Wolverine and runs over to his bed and tries to help Sabretooth. And he just grabs her and throws her across the hall. You don't do that in front of Wolverine to a 12-year-old girl. It's the size of Sabretooth. And he just jumped up. And this is the very first line that I read. He just says,
"All right, you egg-sucking piece of gutter trash. You always like pushing around people smaller than you. Well, I'm smaller. Try pushing me. Ow!"
And they just went ape shit. They said, "Holy shit. Give them some more lines quick." And, so I read for the next 15, 20 minutes, and they just said, "Thank you so much, Cal. We'll be in touch." And I said, "Okay, thanks, boys." And away I went, and they phoned me the next day, and they said, we would really love for you to be our Wolverine. And I said, "Okay, whoever he is, let's go." Whoever he is, or whatever he is. And that was the beginning, Joshua, of 5 of the greatest years of my life. And it was so sad when it ended after 5 years, because it was, well, you don't want to end on a downer. Well, you're certainly not doing that, because it was the top animated series at that point. The fans went crazy when it was canceled. We did. It's like I was like my brother cutting off my right arm. I was like, what? I don't get to see him anymore. I don't get to. It's like missing my brother again. Like that, when Sean went away, he's my blind and deaf brother. I was like, what do you can't do that. Let me do something. No, it's over, Cal. Okay. So he just went on and did with other stuff like Slappy and whatever. But he was always in my heart, still following me around. And then when it came back after doing all these cons in the last 4 years specifically, and we do a panel and we'd say to the fans, please keep bugging Disney, because they're hearing you as well as us. They're hearing you because they're inundated. You're inundating them with messages and letters, etc. Sure enough, 2 years ago, Disney said, "We're doing it. Let's go." And they phoned me and said, "Yeah, let me think about that for a minute. It's about time." And yes. And when I saw him in the new animation, I almost crapped my pants. I was in doing because no one had seen an animation yet. So I'm in doing we'd recorded like 4 episodes already for the first season. And so, we do the voice, the people, the animators animate to our voices. And if they make a mistake, then so say I said, "Back off, bub." And they animate it as if I said, "Back off, bub." Then I have to go in and because it costs too much money for them to reanimate it, I go in and redo it quicker. And I walked in, I was so excited because I hadn't seen him and I didn't see any of the new animation. And because now I have to watch his lips. And he walked out, he was like the size of a tower. It's big, huge Wolverine new animation. And my voice director's there, because I'm in Toronto. She's in LA, voice director. She's on a screen. I just said, "Holy crap, you look great, bub," to Wolverine. He can't say an answer unless you do his voice. And I said, "I know what he's thinking." So it was just great to see him. I said, "Wow, he looks great." Wow. Yeah, it was so great to be back.
The animation for X-Men 97 is like out of this world. I love this era of animation that we're in, where it looks great. I mean, a lot of these series and shows, the animation flows so well. I know there's a reason why these shows take so long to come out, because if you look at the animation, look at how insane the show is. One scene that comes to mind that looks really good is when Cyclops is in the X-Men jet and a Sentinel grabs him and picks him up and he's like shooting his lasers and he's like cutting off all their heads. And I'm like just imagine how long that took to animate, I know. But Wolverine, of course, is your most iconic role. We're going to talk about that. But my first role, because fun fact, you were my mom's first Wolverine. So I remember a little side tangent is that we were watching X-Men 97 and she was like, "Is that the original Gambit voice actor? Is that the original?" I'm like, "Hey mom, did you know that's the original Wolverine?" She's like, "I know." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Well, she was like, "I know that's him." I was like, "Oh yeah, that's the original." And she grew up on the X-Men 90s series, but my first introduction to Wolverine was Steve Blum's rendition of the character with Wolverine the X-Men.
Yeah.
So when I went back to you, it's just so cool to hear what you bring to the character. You know, there's been so many like Wolverines and stuff like that, but my first time hearing you was actually a Slappy in Goosebumps. I loved that show growing up, but it used to scare the living crap out of me. But I love that show. First question to you is: it says on the internet says that you did the theme song for the Goosebumps. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, Jack Lenz, who I worked with for 30, 25 years before I started doing any animation. We would do telethons with him and stuff, and the Jerry Lewis telethon and stuff like that as a singer and sang really wonderful tunes. And so when he was doing the theme song for Goosebumps, he asked me if I would do the viewer beware, you're in for a scare. Viewer beware, you're in for a scare. That voice. And it is in the actual what do you call it? The theme song was what Jack wrote and recorded the theme song, which is a great theme. One
of the best. One of the best.
Yeah, it's so cool.
So good.
I did some dog barks like woo 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 woo, like in that thing. And I
Get out.
Yeah, and I did so. And viewer beware, you're in for the scare. And I did all the voices of the lawn gnomes in every episode. The lawn gnomes were just running around going something like that or something. And the lawn gnomes, Slappy, of course. And so whatever the Slappy, they brought in another dummy that was Slappy's friend who talked with an Italian mafia dude, and I forget what his name was. But anyway, yeah, I did all the lawn gnomes and other characters as well as. And then I did for 5 years. I did Fraggle Rock with Jim Henson.
I love Fraggle Rock.
And so we sang the theme song down in Fraggle Rock. And I ended up doing a doozer. So we did that for 5 years, just going in with all these talented Muppet people and stuff. And Jim Henson, whom I met, he showed up finally one day for the taping. And because all these puppeteers are so talented and stuff. And you've heard them, because they've been with the shows, everything that he's done for years, Sesame Street and all that stuff. And I was just in awe of them, just listening to the voices and the way they did them and stuff. But Jim heard that I did a Kermit impersonation, and Jim Henson is the voice of Kermit, right? So I couldn't believe it. He's there, and he said, "Can you give me a little?" And all I do is I just sing because I'm a singer, and that wonderful song that Kermit sings. Why are there always songs about rainbows? But I can't because I've been coughing for 6 weeks now and doing Wolverine's voice and then trying to do Slappy. But Slappy's okay for some reason because it's up in a weird area. But to sing properly, it comes from a different place because I'm just trying to do it now. It's just usually much easier than that. But Kermit singing that song is such a wonderful song. Why are there always? He stopped me. He said, "That's very good." He said, "Now stop it. Don't. That's my gig," he said. But Slappy is just a nutcase. I didn't start that till 96. We were still doing X-Men. But it was like going from Wolverine into like...
Was it very nice you to dump me in the sewer like that, was it? Don't you get it yet? Your parents don't even like you.
Yeah.
God, that's... Gosh, man, the power of voice actors is insane. Because when you did that Slappy, I just went back to when I was 8 years old, sitting in front of the TV screen, just like
the kids that come to the table, and they're still young ones just show up and they point at the picture, and that warning, I'll just go.
Wasn't very nice you to dump me in the sewer like that.
And they start screaming and run away from the table. One of them ran into her mother's arms, and her mom said, "Is she okay?" She said, "Oh no, she's ecstatic. She can't believe it. She's actually laughing now because she's Slappy." Wow. Yeah. It's so rewarding, and it makes you smile, and it feels so warm inside. It's so, it's just a wonderful feeling to be able to do that for people.
Absolutely. Sloppy is such a unique voice that you have, but another unique voice that comes to mind of yours is Bob Wire and King.
Oh, I love it.
I look,
Oh,
I haven't heard of that show before, but I was doing research on you and I just watched like a bunch of those episodes and I was just like, this is actually like really good. I would have loved the show growing up and I
oh,
love the voice that you do for that.
I, I,
Uh,
lo- I loved Bob Wire. And it's so weird because he's made of wire, of barbed wire. His name's Bob Wire. And it's like, all right, Fuegos, front and center. Like he had a speech impediment, front and center, Fuegos. And he was just a wonderful guy sort of thing, bouncing like with that lovely voice and some guavo in it. It was I loved Bob Wire. And it was only on for like 2 years or something, if that.
Talk about creating that voice and some cool moments you remember from doing that show.
From Bob Wire?
Yes.
I remember doing the studio I was in, and I could look out and see the traffic going by, and I'd never worked with this woman before, Joanne Borum, and it just came to just the voice just came to me, and I just thought because I always liked. And speaking of, it's like it was almost like the character from Fraggle Rock that. And he was a big a great voice. He had a great voice and had that same sort of speech impediment. Front and center, Fuegos. You got to be very careful when you're doing with me. Like that, very, and almost like Elmer Fudd, but not really. Almost like Elmer Fudd, but not. See, I can't control my voice because of this cough. Because I do a great Elmer Fudd. Hello.
No, that was good. Hold on. That was good. That was good.
Who broke that glass? No, I can't get it. One of you fellas will pay for this. Anyways, it's like I've grown up Elmer Fudd, but with the Bob Wire maniacal sound to him, like front and center, Fuegos, like whatever. Pompous guy who thought he was, going to be the king, but no. Every episode, I just love going in and doing them, but there's nothing memorable. I mean, I'd have to watch the episodes again because I'm sure there were like many memorable moments
With the character. Yeah, man. King reminds me of like just taking a story or like a dream out of a kid's head, and just like putting it on the TV screen.
Yeah.
Are there any like fantasies or dreams you had as a kid that you think would have made a great TV show?
Oh God, I wouldn't even those. I can't even talk about. Great TV show. No, I used to dream of being Elvis. Like, I would watch his movies and go like, I can do that. I had the dark hair and everything. I just loved Elvis Presley, and I guess again music, and I know all the songs backwards, forwards. No, just always dreamed of like singing for people, and I just get my heart out, letting my heart out, because it's got to come from there. Otherwise, you can tell. I don't care who you are. If you think you're a good singer, you ain't singing if you can't make people feel it in their heart. You're just singing lyrics.
Bingo.
Everything I sing and do is sing ladies from the heart. And I get that compliment, which is really nice because I said, well, it's working then.
Oh man, absolutely. Kids have such vivid imagination, but one thing kids love more than anything is superheroes, especially nowadays. And before we, of course, get into the main guy, I want to talk about Captain America a little bit. Captain America is one of my favorite Marvel characters of all time, and you did Captain America in some of the Marvel versus Capcom video games. Do you remember voicing Captain America at all?
No.
I got you. I mean, yeah, the games. The thing about the Marvel vs. Capcom games is you just kind of say a line like "punch, stand up, American," stuff like they're like catchphrases. So I got you.
And if I were to do Captain America, and as I probably did on that show, because again, you're right, it was just a line or two or three words or something. I would automatically think of our Cyclops, Norm Spencer, God bless him, because he had such a wonderful, clear radio announcer type voice. Like almost like Ted Knight, like, but not not that bad. So that Captain America is always, I'm Captain America. So that kind of a voice Norm had. So, I don't remember. I mean, very little about the Captain America in the Marvel versus Capcom. I do remember, however, Wolverine's Berserker Barrage about 100 times. Berserker Barrage. I put my hand up at one point. Does he say anything else soon? Like, does he please tell me he says something other than Berserker Barrage? They just say, shut up, say Berserker Barrage. Are you talking to me?
What is, you've mentioned in previous interviews about the differences between recording for animation and video games. What kind of discipline is required when doing video games?
Patience, for sure. It's just because it's like I said, because it goes on this way. There's different routes you can take in this game, and you take this whole story route. If you perchance take that route, then he has certain lines. Then you go the other way, then you got to do those lines. Or Berserker Barrage, or like, I don't know what I was yelling. It was just like, oh God. It's like, there was nothing making any sense. There was nothing like an episode of the X-Men or something. Oh God. They've re-released that, by the way. So,
yes, they've released like a bunch of those. I'm so excited to get them.
And we're chasing them because back then there were no contracts or whatever for that sort of work. I don't know how I don't even know how it was. That's so long ago. No one recalls, like, because they're working here and trying to find out we're owed money here, because the game's being re-released to a whole new generation and stuff, and they're not paying. So one of those.
I hate that because when you're so excited for a game and then like stuff like that happens, it just sends you up a wall because you're so excited. You're like, oh my gosh, like you're gonna hear all these lines and stuff. And
it's so popular. So popular.
I remember when the trailer got announced for like them remastering the games. That has like over like 1 million views easily. Like so many people are just talking about it. So you guys are definitely owed like residuals and payment for that. I mean, that's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer. So I hope you guys are able to get your just due for that, because y'all deserve it. I mean, but that's like a huge issue with like video games in general.
Have you seen this? Like, have you seen the back of this jacket?
No, hold on.
92, 97 series. I can't. Yeah.
There we go. That looks beautiful.
With all the Fox kids and Saban, all the production people. Is it still level?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, it looks great. Oh, I love that. We're gonna talk about that jacket soon because I always see you wearing it. And I'm very want to ask about that. Yeah.
Everyone had their character name on the one side and Jubilee, whatever, and the X-Men on the other side.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that so much. And now let's get into the talk about Wolverine because this character has done so much for you. I love what you've done with this character so much. And like I said, just to go back to talk about you come back for X-Men 97, I love that it's introducing people to see how much of a phenomenal performer you are for this character. There've been so many renditions of the character. Steve Blum, speaking of which, who you met this year and who's a dear friend of mine. I love Steve. What was it like meeting Steve Blum?
the first time that I met him, because I didn't know who he was, or I didn't know any of the, I didn't even know who did that. I remember tuning in because our show was canceled and I really missed the guy whose voice I created, Wolverine. I was the first. And 2 years later, there's a new series, or maybe even the next year, called Wolverine and the X-Men. Is that what it was called?
Yes.
Yeah. And I remember seeing it just popped on TV, and because I wanted to hear what the voice. I said, "Why?" Why wasn't I asked to do this? Like, because they said, gave me the excuse. It's a younger version. Like, they're younger or something. But what, they've aged? They've gone backwards. It's like they're younger people. Wolverine, yeah, apparently. Okay. So I tuned in. Wolverine came out and said his first line, and I just went, bink, turned the TV off. So I'm at this Comic-Con. I forget, it was somewhere in Texas, and someone told me that about 12 tables down, Steve Blum was down there, and with his pictures and stuff, that voices that he's done, get mostly games and stuff like that. I said, okay, Steve who? And they said, Steve Blum. So I went for a walk and put this coat on and put these in my hands, these babies on my hands, and walked up and stood in front of his desk. And he's just sitting there, writing or doing something. And I just stood there like with the arms crossed. And he just looked up and went, oh shit. And he jumped out of his chair. And literally, I can't. I'm going to do it from this position because I can't stand up because my head will disappear. I'll hit the roof. Boink. Yeah. So Steve stood up, and he didn't put the claws on because I had the claws on. I was just standing there, and he just stood up and he went. He bowed down and said, "Stop it, bub." And he said, "I said it's nice to meet you. I'm Cal." He said, "Oh, I know who you are." He said, "You set an awfully high bar, my friend," he said to me, which is a great compliment. And I said, "So quit trying to jump over it, bub." And he just laughed, and we had our picture taken and talked for like 25 minutes or whatever. Just had a great time in picture taken. And now, so every time that I see him from here on in, I find him at the con, and I'll put the claws on in the jacket, and I walk purposely right through his line, which is always huge. And he seems to know when it's coming now because he sees me and he just starts laughing. And he said, "Get in here," behind the desk with him. And this time he said, "Say something," because he started filming he has a podcast or something. Or I don't know what he was doing. He said, "Just say hello." I said, "Folks, the Wolverine is right here." He said, "Come on, say something." I said, "You say something. You're supposed to be Wolverine too. You do it." So one of those things. And the people in line are just flipping out. Not that they're like running in, just like getting out of line to see what's going on between the two. And it was on this little podcast that he had or something. So I said hello to the fans, and I said, I just went, thanks, see ya. Gotta go. I'm busy, unlike this guy. Meanwhile, his line is like 2 hours long.
Yes, his lines are huge, man.
And I was like that in Phoenix. Mine was 2 hours in Phoenix, and the guys, the what do you call them, the security guards, at the end of the day came up and said, "We have to meet you because these people are like waiting in line for 2 hours to see you." And said they've become friends and they've exchanged phone numbers and addresses. By the time they get up here, about like 20 in a row, or all know each other. "Hey, give me a call. I'll meet you. We'll go out for a drink or something." Because 2 hours, and that's why it just bugs me that they have to do that. But it's a great compliment. But and they say, "Well, it's worth it." And I said, "Yeah, I know, but." And I spend the same amount of time with all of them, and that's apparently my problem. They said, "Cal, because I have a handler who's like, you need to pick it up because the show ends in like 45 minutes. You have like a 2-hour lineup. We have to do something," and I hate doing that. I said, "No, they waited in line this far to get up here. I'm gonna say, hey, bye, here you go, bye, get out of here." No, never. I will never do that. No, so I wait and I stay overtime till instead of quitting at 7 o'clock, I go on till 8, like until the line's gone. Yeah, no biggie for me because I love them.
I love that you have that perspective on fandom and stuff because sometimes see like
Steve is he's just a fantastic guy.
Steve does too. Yeah, he oh God, one of the greatest. I will never forget this year. I was at his panel and like I know him and stuff, and I went up and I was like hyping up his panel. I was being all loud and stuff, and I went up to ask him a question, and he was like, "Stay right there," and he just turns the mic and he's like, "I want you guys to meet me," and he gives me a shout out in front of all like this room of like 100 people. Yeah, I'll never forget that. He's just a sweetheart. I'm so glad you got to meet him.
Definite sweetheart.
And then this year was big for you, not only for the show and cons, but even Ryan Reynolds gave you a shout out as Wolverine. He like posted you on his Instagram and stuff like that.
One Canadian to another.
Yes. Oh yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
I have a bone of contention with those guys because I should have been in that movie, Deadpool and Wolverine.
Did you see it? What did you think?
I don't know. It was hilarious at parts. A lot of swearing. and very, very off the cuff. I don't know. I don't know what the word is. A parody or something. It was very different and funny. But they had little people doing little cameos here and there. And I thought at one point they were going to have me as a bartender in a scene and have Wolverine come up, and I would say, "What'll it be, bub?" In Wolverine's voice, back to Wolverine, and the real Wolverine, the live action Wolverine with the animation Wolverine, the original Wolverine with, which there would be no movies without, as you put it, without the first 92 97 series, there would have been no movie.
Yes, there were not. 100%.
The writing in our series from 92 to 97 was brilliant. Wolverine had the greatest lines of anyone, and the whole that whole 5-year series. And I was told this walking in on my first day to record Wolverine, and I was so nervous. I didn't know, because I'd never done anything like this, and they were still guiding me like, "That's good. This is the first episode." But he walking in, and the vice president of Marvel, said, "Cal, just want to tell you something before you go in. To begin your 5 years with us." I said, "Yes." "What is it?" He said, This whole series is all about your character." I went, "What?" He said, "Yeah, it's all about Wolverine. This series. You will see any advertising for this series will have him front and center, always. He'll be the first one that people see on any advertising we do. It'll be Wolverine front and center with the rest of them behind him. Any advertising," and he proved it. I mean, anything that I saw promoting the show, it was always Wolverine up front and the rest of them sort of behind him. And it was like, I said, "Oh, gee, thanks for that."
No pressure. Yeah, no pressure.
Thanks for that. God, it was crazy. So, but the writing, the lines were, and he just had some. He doesn't Wolverine. The first line that told me that he had a heart, and he was very, for this tough persona that he had, and Mr. Cranky, was the very first episode when he meets when I'm going ahead of myself. I'm getting ahead of myself. There was one, his lines were so funny. He's looking through the Hellfire Club or into it, and there's a room full of 20 guys with white wigs on, of judges' wigs or something, red jackets, white pants, and they're all prancing around. They're doing something, and it's a private club of some sort. And they have nunchucks too, or that's what they're called, those things, which Wolverine ends up breaking in and fighting with them up the stairs and stuff, and cuts their nunchucks into pieces, these sticks, and he says, "Go play pickup sticks." But he's just standing by himself outside the door, peeking and looking at these people with their wigs, guys, and their pants and their white red jacket. And he says, "Where do these guys do their shopping?" I almost lost it when I was recording. "Where do these guys do their shopping?"
Hilarious.
This has got to be a nightmare. Somebody wake me up because I got to be dreaming. Like that sort of remark from him.
Wolverine has so many fun lines. I remember this one line where Wolverine was holding this baby, and the baby was crying, and Wolverine gave the baby to Jubilee and was like, "Here, this baby is crying." I can't remember what the line was.
It was like, "It's crying. Take this."
Yes, there you go. Yeah.
"It's crying. Take this. Do something." But it started like the very first episode. I watched it with everyone else, October 31st, Halloween night, 1992. And because we hadn't seen our characters, we'd never seen the series. And I was just so in anticipation, waiting to see what Wolverine looked like and how he sounded with my voice coming out of him. And when he walked up to Cyclops, who's, they've all pretty well just met, and Wolverine's always by himself over here, and the rest of them are over here, like Cyclops, Jean, Gambit, Rogue, Storm, the rest of the Beast. And Wolverine's over here by himself. And Cyclops comes out from a meeting with the professor and says, "All right, everybody, the professor wants us to go and infiltrate regular society and find out if we can help in any way to help us get them, blah, blah, blah. And he'd like us to do this, and rescue this person and that person." And it's as if Wolverine's been doing this many times, turns to him, "And he wants all of us to go this time too, Wolverine, and that means you." which this just told me I said, "Oh God, I hope he says something back to him." He just Wolverine. This is it became his favorite line that everyone asked me to do. He walks up to Cyclops, and that means you too, Wolverine. Walks up to him and says,
I go where I want to go.
walks right away. Boom, gone.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, and I just knew this guy. I love this guy. Oh, and then the fact about the heart thing that I found, like, so Jubilee has just arrived at the mansion for the first time. Her parents dumped her off, and she goes out exploring or whatever, and they all think she's lost. So they're all Storm, Rogue, Gambit, Beast, all looking for her. And of course, Wolverine's on his own up a tree, and he looks down at them because they're all yakking about where'd she go. And Wolverine looks down and says, "Boy, you sure make a lot of noise." And he jumps down on the ground, and Hunk is there, and he's hunches. And Storm says, "Did you find the girl?" And Wolverine says, "No, the scent went cold outside the house. Got bit by a dog too." I went, "What?" I went in my head. I went, "What? You got bit by a dog? You're full of adamantium, and you have claws yourself, and you got bit by a dog too." It's like, it just told me so much about his heart and how lonely he is. And all he was looking for was like a little bit of attention and maybe someone, "Oh, really? Does it hurt?" Because he just says it sort of, "Yeah, no, the cold went cold outside the mansion. Got bit by a dog too," in case anyone really cares.
Oh man.
That just showed me what kind of a person he, like the heart he had and stuff, and how he's lonely. God.
X-Men 97, phenomenal show, phenomenally written. How's season 2 of X-Men 97 going? How do you feel about the show? I know you can't talk about in depth about it, but I know Laura Zane revealed that she completed her voice lines. So how are you feeling about season 2?
Who did what?
Laura Zane, who plays Rogue. Did I say her name wrong?
No, Lenore.
Lenore.
Yeah.
She said she had completed her lines for season 2. So I was just wondering, how do you feel about season 2? How's it going? Have you recorded yet, or
This has come up, but it's been so ridiculously long that when I first started the second season, if you remember how the first season ended,
Been through a lot of wars, bub. The brave always
die first?
and then slab. So that's when the crap hit the fan. And so I came back to start some episodes of the second season. This is now a year and a half ago or something. And I posted, as I usually do, I had my claws and had the engineer take a picture of me at the microphone, say, "I'm so happy to be back with my favorite guy recording." Posted it on social media. Within 5 to 10 minutes, I was inundated with phone calls from Disney and Marvel. "Take that down. What are you doing?" I said,
What do you mean? What am I doing?
You can't do that. It's a cliffhanger. The end of season 1. It's a what? It's a cliffhanger because Wolverine is what happens to him. I'm not. I won't say it. And
Read the comics.
No one knows if he lived or died. I said, "Oh, well, I guess some of them do now." So but that's a year and a half ago. And so I guess it must be okay for me now to say that, well, he does live, because if anyone who reads the comics knows that he does live, and it goes on, and they're following the comics very strictly with this new series. So yeah, I've finished my lines, and I've got to go back into, because they're changing lines as they go, because they're preparing to write season 3, and so they're getting me to. And I've had to turn it down because I'm going to Comic-Cons. Every time they book me, I've got to go, and that's happening. We're supposed to go there this coming week, and I'm not sure if I can do it or not, because we leave January. Sorry, 1st of January, to go and do some pickup lines or to change lines that they've changed the dialogue for me. So that's the stage I'm at. But the last time I was there, they said that's it, end of season 2. For all of us basically. And then we all got the wonderful news that, wow, they're not reducing it? No, not for a long while. And have you heard any of that stuff?
I heard you talk about it at a panel and stuff. I was going to take a while. And I was hoping it was not true, because that's kind of unfortunate. But I mean, season 1 took so long to come out. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I'm not surprised, unfortunately, but I'm X-Men 97 deserves all its awards. That show is phenomenal. I mean,
It reminds me watching it, Joshua, compared to our original series, because I loved most of the animation in our first 5 years, and like I said, the writing I adored. But this X-Men 97 looks to me like a movie. It looks like it's a movie. Like it looks like where this is going, and I can just see that there should be an X-Men the animated movie.
I would eat that up.
There should be. I mean, I just have this in my head, in my heart, that's where this is going. I just love it. I'm just happy to be able to do this again with my favorite character ever, and my heart. He has it, and my right arm, which I'm going to get back from him because they cut it off, in '97, and now we're 30 years later. We're doing it again. No, do I get my arm back now? Because that's what it felt like when you took him away from me. So
I hope you get to play Wolverine again besides just the show, though. Like, I hope you get to do like games and, like I really want you to do Wolverine more. And I hope this is what X-Men 97 leads to, is more visibility to how phenomenal of a performer all of you guys are. Because I want you guys to do them more. Like, I love Steve Blum so much. He's played Wolverine like 30, 40 times. And you've only played him in like a few games and 2 shows. Like, I want you to do him more, like you deserve that, because like you said, X-Men 90s, the X-Men 90s show just really kicked off the X-Men as they are today. So there needs to be more respect, more love, more casting for you. And that leads me to end this with my final question for you today, so I can let you go on and just, before I leave.
Beer.
Say it again.
And get my beer.
You were talking about that, yeah. But
wait, have you seen that meme? And it doesn't upset me, but there's not a meme. It's a thing that's been going around for about 6-7 months now, that it's on social media and stuff. But it's like a picture of Wolverine, and he's leaning up against in an alleyway, and he's leaning up against the wall. Obviously, he's had a rough night or something. But I never knew him in the years that we did it. Wolverine wasn't a drinker and stuff, like he's portrayed now with the cigar always in our original series for the 5 years. None of that was anyway. But I couldn't keep laughing because it's one of my lines constantly. So beer, I mean, and because I'm Irish, is Wolverine's line. It's kind of slumped up against a wall in an alleyway, and this girl comes around the corner and says, Can I do something? Can I help? And he just looks up and he only says, "Are you beer?" Can I do something? Are you beer?
Crying. Hilarious, man.
Are you beer? Anyway, sorry I ruined the question.
Oh, no, you're good. Don't worry about it. No. But before I get to my final question, thank you so much for joining me and taking time out of your day to speak with me.
You're a gem.
Thank you so much, good sir. Same for you. But we got to do a part 2 or something. I got to bring you back on, man, because literally, like I said, I could talk to you for hours. But my final question is, as a performer, you mentioned this briefly in the beginning. You mentioned how you put so much of your own life and personal experience into the character of Wolverine. And a lot of the times, often the characters we portray, they stick with us for a little bit after. And my question is, in your own personal life, where did you feel exactly like how Wolverine felt?
I based a lot of him on a guy I grew up with in my hometown of 3,000 people and stuff. He was the toughest guy I'd ever. Well, we all knew that, but he had a huge heart and 4 children. Yeah, 4 children that he loved to death. But he was tough as nails. I spent more time saving people's lives in bars from him, because I know if he cracked, that these people weren't going to walk again, or he was that tough. And he had a fuse that was about this long. And I was playing the piano in this bar and stuff, and this guy was like yapping and whatever, like, looking around, like jealous or pissed off at me, because maybe girls at his table were listening to me sing or whatever. And Joe's just standing. Joe is sitting over beside the piano. And he said, is that guy bugging you? He said, nope, don't worry about it. Nope. I keep playing and singing. And the guy wouldn't stop. And Joe just made a move. And I said, no, Joe, don't. And he sort of hesitated. And the guy made his mistake. And he just said, something I can help you with, pal? Oh, jeez, to Joe. And it was over. And I just dove off the piano. It was like on the keyboard, jumped over to this guy because he just laid him out with one. The guy was like stunned. And I said, I tried to warn you. And he couldn't believe what had happened. And I went, Joe, so because Joe wasn't finished. He said, no, Joe, you're done. No, wait, he's out. He's done. So I did that so many times with him, and just said, "No, Joe, don't worry about it." I said, "Yeah, well, he's messing with the wrong guy, like me, It's like and I based Wolverine on him, who I think of constantly when I'm doing what he would do, and but my role was like to save people's lives from him, and I said, "No, you don't." You don't need to do that. He said, no. Wow. It was weird. He had a great heart, but he just, rough parts of his life, that this is a way. When he lost his mom, he went crazy like this. When his mom died, it was just, I watched it happening to him, and I just stood by him and waited, and, I kept him calm and quiet for as long as I could. And, yeah, well, he had an unfortunate ending. But it took 7 policemen, and it was just crazy. But I think of him a lot, and in Wolverine, and just that Wolverine protecting him, from himself, because he didn't really know how tough he was. He's just the way he was, and I just sort of thought I was looking after him and stuff like that. More so helping the people, like, please don't look at him again. Like, to go. You're best to leave. Said, well, I'm not going to leave because of that idiot. And I said, oh, Jesus, buddy, please shut up.
Thank you so much for joining me today, good sir. I'm going to let you get off to your supper and to your beer, and for you to have a wonderful rest of your night. But before we go, is there any message you want to leave with the fans or with my audience here today?
Any what? Sorry?
Any message you want to leave, or a final goodbye, or anything you want to say to the audience or fans before you leave?
Just to thank them so much for all their support and their fandom, and you're always there for us, and we're always here for you. So God bless y'all.
Thank you guys so much for watching my interview with the phenomenal Cal Dodd. I will leave a link to all of his social media, everything here, to his websites, all that. Look out for convention appearances. You guys do not want to miss meeting the guy, the bad buff himself. Yeah. You guys do not want to miss an appearance meeting the great Cal Dodd. Cal, again, thank you so much for joining me. And guys, thank you all so much for joining me for one of my final interviews for 2024. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And as always, peace, love, safety. Until next time, I will see you guys on my next interview. Peace, guys. Thank you so much for watching.